What's up, everyone? How are we doing today? Come on, tell me in the chat box. How are you? And also give me a thumbs up if you could see me and hear me clearly. Okay, I could see the comments right here. Hi, Sukhjot. Good evening. Shakti, Shobha. I am good, Gungun. How are you doing? Okay, you guys are on a roll already. I could see the excitement right away, but I know you might be thinking that, where is the Rana ma'am? Well, she'll be back, but for today, I will be taking your civics session. Hi, Yashar, Dhruv, Aditi. Nikesh says, you're perfectly audible and visible, ma'am. So I think, Daman Kumar, you're clearly visible. Awesome, awesome. So I think we are good to go with our today's session. I welcome everyone to Byjus 8 to 10 Civics Session 2 on the outcomes of democracy. Now, this is a very interesting and an important chapter. Why? Because we have seen a lot of questions coming from this chapter in our previous year's paper. All right, and the second thing is, thank you so much, Keshav, Sukhjot, Gaming Gangster. Nice name. All right, so we will be learning this chapter in a question and answer format. Okay, we'll be understanding this whole chapter. So we will be asking ourselves some broad set of questions and we will understand the concept through the answers. All right, so let us now, without any further ado, begin with the session. And the very first thing that we have for you is the mind map of this chapter. So this mind map shows how we can analyze the outcomes of democracy through the given 5 broad aspects, which is, very first aspect is accountable, responsive and legitimate government. Then we have economic growth and development. The third aspect is reduction of inequality and poverty. Fourth is accommodation of social diversity. And the fifth one is dignity and freedom of the citizens. Hi Disha, hi Kanika. Hello Yogi. Alright, so this is the mind map through which we will be understanding and analyzing the outcomes of democracy. So now for a quick warm-up, let's have the very first question, that is, what is democracy? I am sure that you have come across this word a lot, but what is it? So it is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. What does this mean? By the people meaning everybody. No matter from what religion they are, what is their caste, what is their gender, each and every one have the right to vote. Okay, and they can choose their ruler, or we can say their representative, through free and fair elections. So that's like really good, but that's not it, okay? We also have many other benefits of democracy due to which people aspire democracy all across the world. Disha Bhatt says, okay, so Hani Dhruva says, okay, I'm just missing out on the comments. People's rule. Yes, Nikesh, very well done. So with this, now we are pretty much clear of what is democracy. Let's go to the next question, which says, why is the democratic system better than any other form of government? Now, let me tell you, this is a very important question as this has been repeated oftenly. So this might come for as a 3-marker or a 5-marker question, okay? So let's find out what the answer is to this. All right. So democratic system, it promotes equality among citizens. What does this mean? Democracy ensures that each and everyone is treated equally and everybody gets equal and all the opportunities, no matter what their religion, caste, gender is. Okay. Moving forward, democracy enhances the dignity of the individual. So democracy, it recognizes and it respects the freedom of the people. So what do we mean by that? Say for example, government providing household equipments to a particular set of people, to poor households, like the daily wage laborers. So say daily wage laborers, they get around 300 rupees a day. So monthly they earn only rupees 9,000. So now it's a task for these daily wage laborers to, fulfill their basic needs and also, to take care of the education of their son or daughter. Right? So for this, to ease it a little bit, government is providing them with household equipment so that they can take a step ahead. Right? Yasharth, exactly. I'm just loving how you guys are writing in the comments, democracy is better than other forms of government because it allows us, allows us to correct our own mistakes. Yes, Sukhjod. Awesome, amazing. So with this, also there's one more example, that is the government of Tamil Nadu. They provided free laptops to students of 12th class. So with this, students can focus on education, on upskilling themselves, right? So with this, what would happen is they will be less dependent and they will be more autonomous, right? So that is how democratic system, it enhances the dignity of the individual. Let's now move forward to the third point, which says it guarantees rights to citizens. So democracy ensures that each and every citizen has the right to speak freely, to express their views, to address the common issues and a lot more. Next, we have democratic government is accountable to the people. Now, what do we mean by accountable, first of all? So say, for example, government wants to build an airport in a particular area. But as a citizen of the country, we might think that, are they shifting the people who are living there to another place? Are they following the norms and procedures properly? Is it being done lawfully? There are certain set of questions that would come to our mind. And the people in democratic system, they have the right to ask questions. They have the right to information. And specifically, if we talk about India, let's take India as an example, we have the Right to Information Act. So in this, what happens is, any people, any citizen of India can file the Right to Information Act petition and they can extract information from the government. Right? And that is the reason why it improves the quality of decision making. So now, let's say government has made a decision and people of the country are not satisfied, they are dissatisfied with the decision that is being made. So what would happen is, the people, they can express their concerns through media or protest and government will listen to them. Okay, and government has to respond by taking some required actions or modifying the law or completely repealing the law as well. So this is how it improves the quality of decision making. And by quality, what do we mean? Yes, widely accepted by people. Because democracy is what? It is by the people, for the people and of the people, right? So that's how the quality of decision making improves. Moving forward, next. Alright, provides a method to resolve conflicts. Now, what is a conflict? So, different social groups have different opinions, okay, for a particular subject. Now, how do we resolve the issue between these two different groups? So, let's take an example. Example 1 is, we have team A who wants to build a road, and for that they have to chop down the trees to utilize the space for building the road. This is what team A wants. Now, the team B says you cannot chop the trees. Okay, the pollution will increase and already so many trees have already been cut down. They are the environmentalists. So they have this stand. So we have now two groups with different opinions. Correct? But now in this democratic system provides a chance for both this group to put forth their views and opinions, okay? And later on there can be, a mechanism of, setting up a commission or approaching a court to resolve this dispute. So this is how democratic system, it provides a method to resolve conflicts. And the last one is, it allows room to correct mistakes. Now, after every 5 years, we have election. So, say for example, a particular current government didn't perform. So, we have the right, we have the chance to elect another government who we think can sort the issues that the previous government wasn't able to do it. right? And the same goes with the parties. So they can say that we realize that we didn't do well, but the next time that we come back, we will make sure that we do better. So in this way, the people and the parties, both of them have this room to correct mistakes, right? But this does not happen in dictatorship. What happens in dictatorship? What we have observed is the ruler will be ruling for years and years. And if in case you don't want the ruler, you can't just say that, hey, I don't want the ruler because they are not doing their work, right? So this is how the answer to this question would be: the democratic system is better than any other form of government. And as it is a very important one, it can be of 3 marks or 5 marks, right? So 3 marks, in 3 marks you just have to mention the points. But if it comes for 5 marks, then you have to write 5 to 6 points and you have to explain it. You have to describe each and every point. And to remember these points easily, we have a mnemonic for you. So the mnemonic goes like: Ed has to give a CD to Ram. Okay, I know this is a silly mnemonic, but it's easier for you to then remember all the points, and this particular mnemonic is just from the exam point of view, okay. So your E stands for equality, D stands for dignity. So this is Ed. Now Ed has to give a CD. Your C stands for conflict resolution, and D stands for decision making. Now Ed has to give a CD to Ram. Your R stands for rights, A stands for accountable, and M stands for mistakes. I hope this mnemonic you'll be able to remember properly. Yeah, moving forward now. Let's just have a summary of the mnemonic that we just did. Ed, E for equality, promotes equality among citizens. D stands for dignity, enhances the dignity of the individual. Then we have CD, right? Ed has to give a CD to Ram. So C is resolve conflicts, D is decision making. And the last, RAM, Ram is rights, A is accountable, and M is mistakes. Alright, so this is how we will be answering this question. But you know what? Democracy looks good in theory, but are we witnessing the promises that the democracy made? Is it ensuring it? Are all the expectations realized in a democracy? Because what has happened is, we are seeing still gender-based discrimination, we are seeing religious conflicts, we are seeing linguistic conflicts in certain democratic countries like Sri Lanka, India. So can we say that democracy is only better as a principle and not as a practice like in real life? And we also know that different countries have their different problems. They have their different issues, their conflicts are going on. So can we say that all democracies achieve similar outcomes? And if not, then what is the potential of democracy? What should we practically be benefited from democracy? In short, how do we assess the outcomes of democracy would be the questions that would be coming to your mind, right? Anshita says, thanks, ma'am. All right, Suhani, ma'am, your teaching is so good. Thank you so much, Suhani. Hi, Stacy. All right, so to answer all these questions, we have a set of tools with which we can assess, we can measure the outcomes of democracy, and we will be doing that now. All right, so let us go back to our mind map, the broad 5 aspects with which we will be analyzing the outcomes of democracy. Okay, so in this, the very first that we will be covering is accountable, responsive, and legitimate government. Thank you so much, Sujata. Shakti, we do not have mentee because your term 2 is focused on subjective questions. So we have not kept the mentee. Hi, Stacy. Megha. All right, awesome. Okay, so let's move now back to the very first aspect, that is accountable, responsive, and legitimate government. Accountable, as you all know, we just now studied, it means that the government is answerable to the citizens. Responsive means the government needs to be responsive to the needs of the people. And legitimate means the people choose the government, choose their representative through free and fair elections. So democratic government tends to be legitimate. But now, as we said, we will be understanding the whole concept through question and answer format, right? So the question that we have for this one is an accountable democratic government less efficient than a dictatorship? This is what the question is. But firstly, let's understand what do we mean by accountable government. Okay, now say for example, your mom is giving you 20 rupees note to bring a packet of milk. You take the money, you go to the market, you do the task, you come back. Now the milk is of only 18 rupees. So you have 2 rupees left. Okay. So now your mom has the right to ask you that, where is the change? Have you done the task properly? In a proper way? Have you followed all the procedures? Have you done it in a fair manner? Right? So in the same way, the mom here is us, the citizens, the people of that country. And the child is the government. Because your government works for the welfare of the people. And the people, they have the right to information. They have the right to ask questions. So government is first answerable to the citizens. And second, government can be held responsible for the laws, for the policies, and for the decisions it makes. Okay, but now our question is, back to our question, it says that is accountable democratic government less efficient than a dictatorship? So let's see what happens in dictatorship. Now, whenever one has to take a decision in dictatorship, they don't have to go through, deliberations in the assembly, which means long discussions. They don't have to worry about what the public opinion is, right? And due to this reason, the decision making is pretty quick and efficient. So it's pretty sorted, right? Why do we have to break our heads in democracy where the dictators are taking care of it, right? Absolutely not. Just imagine what if they come up with a decision, with an unfavorable decision, okay? Say for example, they tell you that students have to write all their exams in just one day. This is the decision that they make. How would you react? I know the decisions may not be accepted by the people if they are unfavorable, right? And this is the drawback, the downside to dictatorship. Now let's talk about what happens in democracy. So here, the decision making, whatever happens, is based on deliberations and negotiations. They are taken considering what the citizen, what the people of that country wants. And that is the reason why it takes more time, okay? And due to which decisions may be acceptable. Why are they acceptable by the people? Because the government, the democratic system is following the rules, the norms and procedures, okay? It would be more effective because people are satisfied with the decision, because government, the democracy has considered them before taking the decision. So with this, I hope we are clear with the very first aspect of our outcomes of democracy, that is accountable, responsible and legitimate government. It's time for us now to move forward to the second aspect. We could see Yasharth saying there is no deliberation in the dictatorship. Absolutely correct. Ganesh Kumar. Okay, amazing. Moving forward now to the second aspect we have. So in this, democracy is providing us with the freedom and right. That is good. But hey, what about the economic growth? So let's talk about that. What happens in democracy? What happens to the economic growth and development in democracy? Hello, Tanisha. Awesome. Okay, I could see Abhishek writing in democracy is one of the best form of governments. We'll find it out in different aspects, Abhishek. Okay, moving forward now, the question for this aspect is, we have to assess the outcome of democracy with respect to the economic growth and development based on the data that is given in the following table. So what this table is all about? So this table gives us the data of the economic growth for the democratic regimes and the dictatorial regimes for the period from 1950 to 2000. Okay, so here the growth rate of all the democratic regimes is 3.95%, and of dictatorial regimes we have 4.42%. So what can we understand from this data? Can we say that democracy is affecting the economic growth? Or can we say that dictatorship is the best when it comes to economic growth? Can we conclude that? No, absolutely not, because now let's see what happens to the poor countries. What is the growth rate of the poor countries there? So poor countries under dictatorship, the growth rate is 4.34%, and under democracy, the growth rate is 4.28%. What do we see from here? The difference is pretty negligible, and so what we can conclude is that the economic growth of any country is not just dependent on democracy. There are other factors that is affecting the economic growth, right? And those other factors are, first is the population size, then we have the global situation like the world trade, then cooperation from other countries, and the fourth one is economic priorities, which means that the particular country, the particular democratic system of government is spending on what factor? Is it spending on defense more than that of education or healthcare? That particular percentage will also affect the economic growth. All right. Awesome. Moving forward now, it's time for us to conclude what we have learned in the second aspect. So we know now that democracy does not guarantee economic growth, right? And the difference that we saw in the economic growth between democracies and dictatorships is not very significant. It's negligible. And so we can come to a conclusion that democracy has many benefits for the people. That is, it is accountable to its accountability, right? It's responsiveness. It's legitimacy. It's right for us to speak freely, to express our views, and a lot more. And that is the reason why it seems to be a better system of government. My bad. Okay. Hi, Maulik Jen, Rachel. All right, awesome. Let's move now forward to the third aspect that we have of the outcomes of democracy, and that is, how would democracy ensure, like, does it help in the reduction of inequality and poverty? We will be finding that out. So the question that we have for the third aspect is, Saif Pasha, hello. Megha, democratic government better? Absolutely. Gokul, hi. All right, so the question that we have here is, we have to justify the statement, okay? So democracies do not appear to be very successful in reducing economic inequalities. We have to justify this statement. So now, as you already know, the economic development, it depends on a lot of factors. It's not just democracy, it depends on the population size, global situation, then the economic priorities, right? And the democracy alone cannot guarantee economic development. So if in case there is economic growth, even then it is interestingly accompanied by economic inequality. So let us understand this with an example, okay? So let's assume that democracy guarantees economic development. So what would happen? There would be a lot of job opportunities, will be, the livelihood of the people will be so much better, right? This is what would happen if democracy guarantees economic development. But in actual life, what we have observed is this does not happen. People still struggle from poverty. And what do we mean by economic inequality? We mean that a very small number of ultra-rich people, they are enjoying major proportion of the wealth while they are leaving a very little to the poor people. Okay, and that is the reason why if we just have a look at this like this picture right here, we could see that majority is poor, right? So poor, they constitute majority of the population. Now what does this mean? Poor, they constitute larger proportion of votes, right? The voters. So their vote is important in forming the government. But what we have observed is in many democratic countries, the elected government is not addressing this issue of poverty. So even in democracy, economic inequality exists, and this in turn reduces the standard of living of the middle and poor people. Those at the bottom of the economic strata struggle even to meet the basic needs of life. I could see all the answers coming in from Megha, Yasharth. Amazing. Moving forward now, so with this we have justified how democracies do not appear to be very successful in reducing the economic inequalities. Moving forward now to the fourth aspect that we have, and it is accommodation of social diversity. Now for us to understand what is social diversity, we need to first understand what do we mean by social groups. So it means group of people sharing common relation with the society. For example, men and women are different social groups because women have their own problems that they have to deal with in a male-dominated world, right? And also we have religious groups, we have linguistic groups, then we have, various other ethnic groups across the nation within the country. Now, social diversity. Social diversity means all these social groups exist with each other in a society. Okay, so now the question for this one is it a fair expectation that democracy will produce a harmonious social life? Let's find that out. All right, Imtisal, hello. Mayank. Amazing. Okay. All right, let's now figure it out whether it's a fair expectation that democracy will produce a harmonious social life. So democracy accommodates various social divisions. There are people following different religions, different caste systems, coming from different socio-economic background, right? They are living in a society. But now they have, each and every group of people, they have different lifestyle, right? They have their own interest in the society. And that is the reason why differences will arise within different people, okay, in all the groups. And if you remember the example that we just now did of Team A and Team B, that Team A, they want to build a road and Team B, they don't want to do that, right? So in this, we have two groups with different opinions, correct? So there will be different opinions. So this differences that arises can be friendly or it can be in conflict with each other. So now, the conflicts amongst various groups may not be completely removed. We won't be able to completely remove that, but democracy allows a platform for all these social groups to voice out their opinions, okay? And this is done by representative democracy. So democracy tends to have a representation of all the social groups, okay? So in which social groups, they can voice out their issues and they can try to resolve the conflict. So this gives us the power to speak up. We don't know what the consequence would be, but they all the different social groups are getting a platform to voice out their opinions, and this in turn allows negotiation. But still we have seen, in many countries, we have seen different social groups, they are a dominant group, which we call it as majority community. But what does democracy say? Rule by majority. So now what does this mean? Now say for example, government is passing a decision, okay, they are making a decision, and majority of the population are not satisfied with that decision. So this majority population is what we call the majority in democracy. So it's not the majority community, but the majority in terms of numbers, in terms of population for that particular issue. Alright, and the beauty of democracy is what? Each and every individual can take part, can be a part of this majority. So it says that a democracy, as long as it remains a democracy, as long as every citizen has an equal chance to be a majority at some point of time. All right, and let me just go back to the chat section. We have Nikesh here with us, Charvi. Megha, you're super active here. Good job there. Okay, amazing. I'm loving the interaction that's happening right here. And it's time for us now to move forward to the last aspect of the outcomes of democracy, and that is what? Dignity and freedom of the citizens. Okay. And the question that we have for this one is, can democracy ensure the freedom and dignity of individuals? So we'll understand this particular question with the help of an example that is of the dignity of women. So historically, what used to happen is, what we have observed, most societies in the world were male dominated. And as a result, women were oppressed in various spheres of life. They were denied of education, of job description, they have faced sexual harassment and a lot more. Okay, but at the end of the day, an individual, no matter who they are, okay, no matter of what is their gender, they deserve an equal right to avail all the opportunities, right? So now how do they achieve this? By various movements and struggles. And one of the example of the movements that I would like to share with you is the feminist movement. That, the feminist movement by women, that was like women in the history, they weren't able to vote. And they fought for their right to vote, and this movement was a successful one. But listen, it's not always necessary that women will be treated with respect always, right? And that, now it's time for us to understand this with two scenarios. Scenario number one is democracy, and scenario number two is dictatorship. So now we will see which form of government would help us in ensuring the freedom and dignity of the individuals. Disha Bhatt says, nice explanation, ma'am. Thank you so much, Disha. Anshita. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about the scenario number one, that is democracy. Now in democracy, all the women, they have the right to express their concerns, okay, through various public spheres like through media or civil society. And how are they able to do this? Because all the people have the right to speak freely, to express their views, okay, to fight against unfair laws and decisions. And this is just not restricted to women. It also is extended to different social groups like transgenders, Dalits, we have then tribals, okay. So that was about the democracy part, but what about the second scenario, that is of dictatorship? What happens in dictatorship? So here, if the law does not exist already, then it becomes difficult for the women to claim their right. Okay, because there is no legal or moral backing for the claims for equal treatment. So if in a dictatorship, you are supposed to obey the law no matter what. You cannot express your views to criticize it. So this is what the scenario is about dictatorship. Alright, so with this, we are done with all the 5 aspects of the outcomes of democracy, and it's time for us now to summarize this whole thing Okay, we have M.K. Gaur, Vrishali Deshmukh, Keshvi Waghela. All right. Okay. So now let's summarize this whole thing. The very first aspect that we did is accountable, responsive and legitimate government. In this, what we understood is that how dictatorship works and how democracy works, okay, and which is more efficient. Then second, we had economic growth and development. In this, we realized that how democracy is not the only factor that is affecting the economic growth. We also have many other things. Say, for example, the population size, the economic priorities, and a lot more. Then, we studied reduction of inequality and poverty. So, in this, we realized that how democracy is not very successful in reducing inequality and poverty. Moving forward, we understood accommodation of social diversity, okay, how two different social groups with different opinions can have a platform to voice out their opinions and can stand a chance to resolve it as well. And the last one that we did is dignity and freedom of the citizens. Here we had two scenarios. One was of the dictatorship and the other one was of the democracy, and we realized which form of government is able to ensure the democracy of the freedom of the people, the freedom and dignity of the people. Okay, all right, the comments are flooding in. Saif Pasha, Yasharth, Suhani Dhruva. Amazing. So with this, we come to an end to this chapter, the outcomes of democracy, and it's time for you to attend the free trial classes if you haven't, because it's always helpful to, brush up on your concepts. So the link is in the description box. You can go ahead and attend it. And the upcoming session is on the topic globalization and the Indian economy, which is on 11th February 2022 at 5 p.m. Please join the session because we have got you all covered throughout. So stay connected and all the best for your exams.